Every so often, I'm compelled to discuss an issue that is, it's a phenomenon, actually. And hold on one second while I turn this down. It's a phenomenon, and I call it unrealistic expectations. And I revisit this every so often because I feel it's important for Black people. If we don't if we don't if we continue, at least we'll know where it's coming from. It's like a vice grip to be caught up in generational white supremacism as an ideology and dogma and culture in this country, and it creates all sorts of issues and has for Black people in America. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Cynthia Elise Smith, and I am an anti-racism, anti-white supremacism educator and essayist, specializing in essays, lectures, discussions, and presentations with alternative views on race, racist color, racist character, racism, white supremacy, whiteness, Blackness, and value. I offer deeper, more critical perspectives on these subjects, including the potential implications of wording in the U.S. language lexicon that are not ordinarily considered racialized because they may be euphemized, dog whistled, or couched within some usually benign contexts. Now, I'm not here to change your mind, but I am here to make you think critically about the subject matter that I am going to present to you today. And as you think critically, maybe you'll change your own mind. Now, understand what I'm about to talk to you about is not designed to make you comfortable, but it's designed to make you think. Now, I'd like to get these definitions out of the way because this is something that I always do prior to speaking because it's important for you to understand what I'm talking about. The three tools for navigating the language system of racism and white supremacy are, and those of you who are already light bulbs know this. And for those of you who don't, the three C's for navigating through the language system of racism and white supremacy. One is comprehension. Now, comprehension is important because it is the essence of understanding what you're saying, being told, writing, or reading, or the ability of your mind to form and craft imagery and concepts from words. It's like when I talk to you. It is the essence of understanding what I'm saying to you. Or when I write an essay, it's the essence of understanding what I'm writing when you're reading my essays and books. Next is context. Now, context is important because it is the ability to understand the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, idea, effect, consequential solution, and in terms through which any can be fully identified, comprehended, and assessed, such as its value. Now, this is very important because a lot of times things are taken out of context when it has to do with race, racism, white supremacy, and those types of things. It gets taken out of context, and a lot of times it is made personal when it isn't. Last but not least is the ability of the words to summon emotion or an idea or feeling that a word invokes in addition to its literal or primary meaning. Now, connotation is particularly important because it is the feeling of the words, the reaction associated with a word. It is the expressive part, that part of the words, sentences, and paragraph from thoughts that we have that create the drama and cause people to react happily, sadly, kindly, violently, or otherwise. Now, we all know how words make us feel. And this is why it's important. The old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me is the most ridiculous statement ever made because it words get translated into those actions that break your bones. It takes the words because they make you feel some kind of way. All right. Now, for purposes of this discussion, these are the definitions of race: race as color, race as character, racism, white supremacy, whiteness, and value that I'll be using. Race is any one of the groups that humans are often divided into based on physical traits regarded as common among people of shared ancestry. Race as color is used to distinguish a race of people, such as black and white. Race as character, character used to distinguish a race of people, such as criminals or more high IQ people, working class, things of that nature. Racism. Now, this is very, very important because this is racism. It is a systematic subjugation within established institutions in the U.S. through structurally designed discrimination and denial of opportunity, equality, equity, and justice built into every institution in the United States to control the formerly enslaved and their descendants in perpetuity after the enslavement ended and the enslaved were emancipated. It's not simply prejudice or bias and the associated behaviors. Think of it this way, and I always use this as the example. I want you to think carefully about this. Can Black people despise white people? Absolutely. Can Black people hate white people because they are white? Yes. But can Black people as a collective, as a group, suppress the vote, ban books by white authors simply on the basis of race, change history to sanitize it for the comfort of Black people, deny the very system was created in the first place in the face of overwhelming generational evidence that exists today? The answer is a resounding no. A resounding no. That is exclusively whiteness at work, using the mechanism of racism as that unbleached definition describes. Okay, so understand what racism is. White supremacism. White supremacism is the ideology that uses the color white and whiteness as a value and merit measurement, where superiority and goodness align with the color white and the color black, and blackness are aligned as bad or inferior. Not saying that this is the case either way, but this is the ideology that drives people who identify as white and subscribe to this ideology, each having been assigned generations ago to skin pigmentation. Whiteness. Now, whiteness is the theory, and this is a theory, okay? Whiteness is the theory that skin pigment or the assignment of the color white to describe or to imply skin color grants the individual with certain natural rights and privileges. The indoctrinated perception, and what I mean when I say indoctrinated, is what has been drummed into our psyche and has gone down into the sub and unconscious levels of our minds, is the complete sovereignty of whiteness as having complete sovereignty over and above everything else on the planet Earth. Last but not least is the term value, because this is so important. This is so important. We have such varying degrees of what we consider valuable. And value is the desirability of a thing, often in respect of some property, such as usefulness or exchangeability, worth, merit, or importance. Now, value has an intrinsic association with the terms race, racist color, racist character, racism, white supremacy, and whiteness, because value is the codifier for those terms. It's what puts it all together in providing both the context and the connotation, and leading to better comprehension of both. So, why do many Black people believe we must wear the equivalent of a red S on our chest and on the chest of the entire Black culture? Why do we hold such unrealistic expectations of ourselves? There's a reason. That's because we are in a stranglehold by white supremacism, the ism, the state of whiteness in this culture that tells us that we have to jump higher, we have to run faster. We basically have to be super people. Now, what brought me to this discussion again, and like I said, every so often I have to go back and revisit this for us, even though those of us that will listen to this will still fall into that trap where we say things like, and look at what that does for Black people. Let's take Jada Pinkett and Will Smith and their situation right now. And those of us who may decide, because of what's going on in their lives, it affects the lives of all Black people because of scrutinizing, what I call over scrutinizing. We already know that we're overly scrutinized by everybody. Black people in America are oftentimes made to feel that we have to be super people. So we wear that and we accept it, but we don't have to treat each other that way. We don't have to indict or condemn our entire culture based on what one Black person does. That's important to understand. Okay. Now, I did a video a while ago, and it's on YouTube. I didn't get many views. But sometimes I don't expect that. Most times I don't expect that, because this isn't a subject that a whole lot of people like to, race, racist color, race. A lot of times Black people want to move away from that. We want to think of anything but that. It's like almost a fate worse than death to talk about ourselves in this way. That's why it's my job to do that for you and to break it down, to help you to understand and think more critically about it. Because when you think more critically about these subjects, then it doesn't affect you personally, and you begin to realize that you don't have to wear that red S on your chest or throw that red S on the entire culture. So I'm going to play it for you. And we'll talk about it after. Let me know if you can hear this. It doesn't sound like you can hear it. So hold on a second. And I know I fixed it. So it could be heard, but I'm not sure whether it can. So um put a if you don't mind, can you put a light bulb in the chat if you can hear? So I don't know whether you can hear it. I know I can't hear it. So I'm thinking you might not be able to hear this either. Okay, hold on. Well, you wouldn't be able to hear this part anyway. This is a little different because this is older. I think this is before I used my theme music. So hopefully you'll be able to hear this. White people rationalize all sorts of reasons why there are more of us in jail, unemployed, and not in the labor force at all. They rationalize for themselves the motivations they have decided are why black people are being killed at the hands of police. To them, it is in our character to be what they have for generations been taught about us. Unable to live among them peacefully, unable to succeed. Many see us as savages, unable to help ourselves, wantonly killing ourselves for the lazy and all of the synonyms inherent in the word black and in the term minority. They discount and indeed dismiss for themselves the probability, or to a larger degree, the slightest possibility that their own history created an ideology of success and failure, of theirs and ours, of superiority and inferiority. Indeed, race as color, as well as race as character, are both used today to deny and apportion on the most limited amount of opportunity in every area of American culture. Call it cognitive dissonance, unconscious bias, willful ignorance, or something else they will rationalize for themselves as a way to reject reality. They would see the world in the way they imagine it, and not the way it essentially is. Well, except for the part where they are supreme and justified and entitled. But here is what they will never admit: as long as the ideology of white supremacy exists, and as long as the system of racism to support that ideology exists, the truth of the lie. Bear with me just a moment, because it appears my internet connection is not, everybody who's been on here knows what happens with the internet and StreamYard. So just bear with it, because I will be discussing this with you when it's over. That it is always, at the very least, obfuscated and gaslit, and at worst, outright denied. But the truth is the truth is the truth. Therefore, much like the infected substances or infected tissue must be drawn out and cauterized, the infected substance of white supremacy must be drawn out and cauterized before the wound in their humanity can be healed. people have had to, for generations, behave in ways that can be considered superhuman in order to be perceived as simply human by this white supremacist culture, which holds even the most mediocre among them superior over us for no apparent reason except race as color or race as character. All one has to do is observe the areas where we are allowed to be seen as excelling, like sports. Even with the myriad of systemic barriers placed for us, we excel, most times beyond any conceivable expectations of what humans are supposed to be capable of. And what I'm going to ask is that you take the time to watch this video, look for it and watch it because um, it just appears that it is going to keep sounding really cruddy. But if you watch it, it basically says how we have to, it discusses how we have to, there's a reason why we're always striving. And it appears that no matter how hard we strive, we o- our abilities and our accomplishments are taken for granted. Now, w- what that does to us is it has the dual effect of causing us to look down on ourselves to such an extent where every single time something negative happens, w- we expect so much from ourselves as a culture that we're almost the first, or we are actually the first to say or to throw ourselves under the bus. And now that's not to say that there are those of us who deserve to be thrown under the bus. But that does not mean our entire culture should be thrown under the bus. Now, been hearing on YouTube a lot of comments, especially in on the beef sector where I find myself loving the content. Every time there's some sort of beef, there's also some sort of discussion over why are black people doing this to black people. And it sounds so reminiscent of the white supremacist view of black on black crime. We're not criming folks, not even on the beef sector. Okay, we're not, it's not the entire culture. It is because this is the audience. This is the audience. You've got white liberals beefing with white conservatives, but you don't hear them say, why are we white people treating ourselves like this? Why are we white people? And she was white. Do you see the irony and I'll say the ridiculousness of comments such as that? I just want us to be mindful. I want us to be mindful in the future so that we don't find ourselves doing that or at least catch ourselves If we're ready, we're discussing something, we're on a panel, or we're on YouTube, or we're in a discussion with friends over cocktails, or we're discussing something that has happened on the news. It's incumbent upon us to stop pigeonholing ourselves into unrealistic expectations of ourselves that cause us to put ourselves down when those expectations are not met. We're going to be over scrutinized. That's the nature of white supremacist ideology. That's the nature of it. I mean, once you understand that concept of supremacism versus or superiority versus inferiority, and how that manifests itself in this culture based on skin pigmentation and character derived from skin pigmentation, then you understand that it really doesn't matter what you do in those eyes. Doesn't matter. So don't let it bother you to the extent that you begin to feed into it and internalize it and believe it. Don't believe it. You have to have some sort of belief in that structure, in that ideology, in order to play into it and then turn it in on yourself and on your culture. Do you follow that? Those of you who are in class today, put a light bulb in the chat if you understand what I'm saying. If you understand. I see my buddy Ruthless is here. How you doing, darling? And do the right thing. I hope you're still here. Hi, sweetheart. I'm sure some of my Facebook friends are hopefully listening in, or I know that there are people who decide to catch the replay. This isn't the essay that I'm working on now. However, the essay that I'm working on now is has to do with the whole liking and not liking and what that means kind of thing, like a little bit of reiteration on that for those people who seem to be stuck on the idea that racism is determined by loving and hating, and that if we all were to just simply love each other, we would be a better people for that. Which is entirely not the case. Your boss may love you to death, but he's not going to give you that promotion because you're black. Believe it. So I'm working on that, and I'm going to be bringing that. But I took me a few days to get myself up so that I could talk to you about this. I really wished the video would have played a little better, but it decided it wanted to misbehave, and that's okay because it exists on YouTube. It's got 89 views. So I want you to listen to it, watch it, and listen to it so that you can understand why we do feel like we have to wear that red S on our chest. And when you can understand why we feel like that as a direct response to that notion of superiority and inferiority. But we don't have to internalize it, and we don't have to blame the entire culture. So understand that. One last thing I'd like to remind you all and encourage you to do is to vote this November. Whether you have a mail in ballot or you go to the polls, it is vitally important that you vote. There are city elections during this year, right now. See, 2024 is always the presidential election is always touted as the most important election, and that is not by happenstance. That is not by chance. If you're thinking that voting is only important during that period, you're wrong. There is an election going on each and every year. Each and every year there is a primary, and each and every year there is an election. And the elections are always got to do with local and state, not just federal, but local and state. You'll be getting statewide judges. Some people will be voting new mayors in, Supreme Court justices for the states, for their state, city commissioners, Superior Court justices, city council people, sheriffs in some cases, state representatives and state senators will be on the ballot. It is vitally important for you to make sure you register to vote. I understand that the day of last registration is October the 24th. The last day to register to vote is October the 24th. Those of you who believe you are already registered because you've been registered in the past, you must check, and check vigorously, because there are voter suppression actions going on all over the country where voter rolls are being scrubbed, and you may find your name off of the registration list. And if you have not checked prior to the 24th, you will not be able to vote. So check to make sure you are registered. Check to ensure you are registered up until and including the 24th. And then in November, vote. Vote like your life depended on it, because it does. I want to thank the people who came to the class today. Hi, Latrice. How are you doing, honey? I haven't seen you in a while. I've been catching your shows, though. Been in the bushes. Ruthless. I know you said you had to work, but you still came in, and I love you for that. I love you for that. And of course, do the right thing. I don't know how many other people are in the bushes. I don't know how many people are on Facebook watching, but thank you all. I did want to mention before I go that I am up to 965 subscribers. I am flabbergasted that there are 965 people. It's not, however, reflected in the number of views, because I still don't get that many views. And apparently, it's important to get watch hours. What I'm looking for is the ability to create memberships on YouTube. That's my goal now. Not the other other monetizations with the commercials and all that stuff, but the ability to create memberships. So you can become a member of this channel. That's my goal, and I have very few to go to hit that 1,000, but I'm still about 1,000 or so, maybe 1,500 away in terms of watch hours. So what I'm hoping is at some point I will get there in the watch hours. You have to have 3,000 watch hours. So I would encourage you to tell your friends and your neighbors and anybody else that you think would be interested in what I offer in terms of lectures and discussions to watch the videos. 'Cause I got a lot of them up there, and they're all on some pretty important subjects for you to consider and to comment as well. I do enjoy engagement. And if you haven't hit the like, both Facebook and on YouTube, remember to hit the like button. I know that's what everybody says now. It's funny how that's so important now, to hit the like button so that my videos will pop up in your algorithm. Believe it or not, the algorithms are little programs, and they're done for the viewers, not the content creators, as some people believe. It's not for the content creators. The algorithms are created based on the viewers and for the viewers. So in order for me to show up on your list of viewable content, then you should hit that like button and comment and share the videos. I really would appreciate it. So for now, I am going to say farewell. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming by. Replay gang. Replay gang. Do replay. Do come in and comment. I am interested in your comments. Very interested in your comments. So comment, comment, comment. Okay? All right. I will talk to you very soon. So I'm almost finished that other essay. This was a little impromptu. And the other essay's coming soon. Bye-bye now.